Today, I am featuring the fifth report on a growing issue in Ontario schools, where concerns about student rights, medical privacy, and the role of public health authorities persists as students face suspensions for not disclosing their vaccination status. This is being done under what is called the Immunization of School Pupils Act, or ISPA, which requires students attending school be immunized against certain diseases unless they are exempt for medical, religious, or philosophical reasons. And the legally binding exemption affidavit has some concerning verbiage, but that's not all. See, over the past few weeks, Ontario Public Health's vaccine requirements have led to increasing pressure on parents to disclose private medical information of their children, with the looming threat of suspending students whose parents don't comply. This tactic, which many see as a violation of medical privacy, directly contradicts the Personal Health Information Protection Act, or PIPA, which mandates informed consent for the collection of medical data without coercion or deception. And parents are increasingly resisting this pressure, especially given the risks that these centralized digital databases have for breaches and unauthorized access to sensitive medical records. After all, there's multiple incidents where health data has been compromised. It's a hot commodity. And parents are increasingly concerned that their children's privacy is at stake. Recently, I reached out to the Ministry of Education for clarification regarding this troubling situation. The media contacts listed are Ingrid Anderson, Issues Coordinator, and Brooke Campbell, Press Secretary, Senior Communications Advisor to the Ministry of Education. I begin by offering some background context, explaining that it appears there is confusion between the roles of public health authorities under ISPA and school authorities under the Education Act. Medical officers of health are currently suspending students for non-compliance with ISPA. Those suspension orders are legally within the purview of school principals under the Education Act, and only for infractions specified by that act. This discrepancy raises concerns about the potential unlawful withholding of students' access to their right to a free public education. I raised several key questions surrounding the roles of public health authorities and school boards and principals, and how these are impacting students' access to free public education, which I might add is a declared basic human right. I asked whether the ministry was aware of the confusion. I also asked the ministry about the protection of parents and children's medical privacy. With public health databases already vulnerable to breaches, what measures are in place to prevent unauthorized access to medical records? These are concerns that cannot be brushed aside. I sought clear, consistent guidance on how school boards and principals should handle student suspensions based on medical record disclosures, and parents who wish to uphold PIPA above all else. The risk of arbitrary suspensions, particularly following the significant disruptions caused by COVID-19 response measures, with Ontario students subjected to the longest and harshest school closures out of all the developed world, is a real concern for both parents and students in 2025. And finally, I inquired about the balance between the Immunization of School Pupils Act and the Personal Health Information Protection Act, asking for clarity on which piece of legislation holds ultimate authority when it comes to the collection of medical information, particularly in light of the requirement for informed consent under PIPA. My deadline to receive this response from the ministry was February 25th at 3:45 p.m., and the ministry failed to respond. My calls to the media number listed for Ingrid Anderson perpetually go to voicemail.
You've reached the voicemail of Ingrid Anderson with the Ministry of Education.
This suggests a broader issue with media communication and how issue coordination is being handled by the ministry. This lack of transparency only adds to the growing concern that Ontario students are caught in the crossfire of conflicting laws with no clear guidance on how to protect both their educational and privacy rights. As more parents push back against these coercive practices, it's clear that many see this situation as a violation of their rights. Medical information is private, and no child should be denied access to education simply because their parents want to keep that information confidential. If your child has been the target of such overreach, please contact me if you're willing to share your story, even if anonymously, to protect your privacy, at tamara@rebelnews.com. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. We will continue to press the ministry for answers, and we'll keep you informed as this story unfolds at stopvaccinecoercion.com. You can support this work and get involved at that website so that together we can ensure these students' rights aren't trampled on further. That's stopvaccinecoercion.com.